When an employee tries to quit, you realistically have two options. You can either let them quit, or you can try and save them. When a good, strong, high-achieving sales rep tries to quit, most leaders will sit that individual down and ask them, why are they trying to quit? Then this person will give a whole host of reasons as to why, most of which are usually untrue. Now, they could be vying to get some sort of a raise or a perk, or maybe they're leveraging to get something else, or maybe they're simply just bluffing. But when this person is genuinely trying to leave, I've seen some CEOs be so confident and arrogant that they know they can get this person to stay, either by manipulating them or creating a situation to sell this individual on an alternative solution, just so they can keep them. But when somebody wants to quit, they usually want to quit for a very specific reason. And you can change and reframe things to whatever capacity you want, but at the end of the day, you will have a decision to make. Do you keep them or do you let them go? And so what most CEOs and leaders typically ask is, why do you want to quit your job? Is it because of the role that you're in? Or do you just hate the job? But ultimately what they're trying to pull out is that it's the role and the position, not the company. So what you do is you recreate and reframe the situation and give them more responsibilities, money, or a whole host of different things. All from the onset, which sound like a great idea. Now the CEO can say, hey, I saved this person. I'm not gonna have to suffer the opportunity cost of a vacant seat. I'm not gonna have to suffer turnover costs. All that sounds great. However, there is a downside that is rarely ever taken into consideration. The truth is, by the time they tell you, mentally, they've already walked out the door. Whatever problems they had usually will still remain and persist, and that you cannot simply remove by realigning or readjusting their duties. And so what ends up happening? If you save this person, it's only a matter of time until they come back and have this conversation with you again. Over the next 3 to 6 months, that person either comes back and wants to quit, or their demeanor, attitude, their behavior, their level of personal responsibility to the organization has significantly decreased. They are no longer nearly as effective as they once were prior to them wanting to quit. And that's because they believe the grass is greener on the other side. The grass is never greener on the other side. The grass is greener where you water it. So what do? My recommendation would be to just let them go. Let them go, because if they believe the grass is greener on the other side and you keep them, they will constantly be looking over the fence. They will always want to go and explore that new opportunity, even if the new situation you created for them is wonderful. That's because they have an unmet desire. They have this conflict inside of them. They're going to feel unfulfilled. They will always be thinking, what if? When somebody says they want to quit, of course you're going to ask them, why do you want to quit? What's going on? You're a top performer here, we really value you. You're going to ask them not to leave, but also ask them to respectfully tell you the honest truth, because you need to know it in order to address the issues. You can't fix something that you don't know. You'll want to speak it in a way in which that inspires confidence inside of them and gives them a level of safety and security, so they actually provide you with the correct feedback. Now that you know what's holding them back and getting them to leave, here's what you do. Simply ask them if they have another job lined up. More than likely they do. A top performer is probably someone that's responsible, and they're not just going to jump ship not knowing where they're going. People don't typically just quit a job on a whim, which means they were either looking for some time or they were headhunted and recruited into a different situation. So what do you do when someone comes in and tries to quit? My recommendation would be to just let them go. Go take the other position. But if it's not everything that they promised you and you are not 100% happy inside of the next 90 days, you can always come back. When you do this, you have reframed the conversation. Now, not just with your words, but also with your messaging, you have told them that they are a valued member and you respect and admire their input. But you've also told them to go ahead and scratch that itch. But if that's what they really want, and that's what they think that they want, but it's not, they can always come back. I've seen countless people leave one situation for another that they think will be better, but it only turns out that it's not. But then they can't go back because they don't feel welcome. Now this creates this expectation that this person's going to come back. However, You don't just leave it there. What's the first rule of sales? Always make sure you have next steps. So here's how I would do it. When this person comes and tells me they're leaving, I would say, okay, it's the first of the month. You will serve out your next 2 weeks, and on the 14th, you will be done. 90 days from the 14th, let's put a meeting on the calendar. You put a meeting on the calendar to meet with this person face to face, outside of the office. So the most important thing you can do is sit down with the top performer, get them to let their guard down, have them open up, and tell you exactly why they are leaving. But also create an opportunity for them to return. When you do this, you shift the power dynamic in your favor. You are not beholden to them, but rather they now view you in a much better light, and you will maintain goodwill and loyalty with this individual. Remember, you're only doing this for a high-level, high-performing employee. It's going to be very difficult to replace someone that's already very difficult to find. What we're doing is we're giving them enough space to go and figure out what they want and what they need. And if this person comes back, they will be 10 times more valuable to you than they were before, but you'll also know where their loyalties lie.